Officer Waldman, on the night of December 7th, 1996, you and your partner, or your partner, Officer Levy, was driving a car and you were riding with him, is that correct?
Yes.
And you turned onto Evergreen Street.
Yes.
And Officer Levy then pulled the car over to the right side of the road?
Correct.
And Mr. Ramirez, who had been following you, pulled his car alongside your car and stopped. Is that correct? Now, it's your opinion that he stopped his car slightly in front of and at an angle in relation to your car, thus blocking your car in. Is that correct?
My forward motion, yes.
Yes, so that you could not move forward.
Correct.
That's your opinion. And it's also your opinion that the cars were parked very close together. Is that true? So that probably a couple feet away.
Yes.
In your opinion? Okay. I'd like to have you read some from the police report filed by Sergeant Sloan for the jury, if you would, regarding how they found the cars parked. If you just start right here.
One of the cars belonging to Officer Waldman and Officer Morris Levy was pulled slightly off to the side of the street in a section where there were no cars parked on either side. Parallel to it, and approximately 10 feet away, was a car belonging to Robert Ramirez. Both cars were in a position where they could easily continue on their way. Mr.
Okay, that's enough. Thank you. So, according to that police report, the cars were parked parallel to each other, correct?
Correct.
And your car could have moved forward freely, according to the police report, correct?
Supposedly, yes.
Yes, okay, according to you. Okay, thank you. Now, also, I just want to ask you a few questions about when you first saw Mr. Ramirez with a knife, in your opinion. Now, I understand that he was coming around the back. When Mr. Ramirez was coming around the back of the car, you were still sitting in the car, and you did not observe a knife in his hand at all. Is that correct?
Not at that time.
Not at that time. Was there not enough lighting where you could have seen a knife if you had one?
Yes.
And would you have remembered if you would have seen a knife in his hands? But you did not see a knife in his hands. Okay. No knife when he came around the back of the car. All right. I just want you to read some from Officer Levy's testimony, if you would, for the ladies and gentlemen of the jury, regarding when he saw the knife. I'm sorry, if you start with the question here.
When did you see the knife? When he came to the rear of his car, just by the tail lights. I remember the tail lights were on in red and white, and when he came at that point, I noticed the knife. Okay,
and then also if you just read this question and this answer.
How much in seconds before you saw the knife? How much time elapsed? 2 seconds.
2 seconds, and he saw the knife when he was around the tail lights, according to Officer Levy. Thank you. Also, after you shot Mr. Ramirez, you went and called for help. Is that correct?
Yes.
And I understand that you called in the wrong street?
That's what they told me afterwards. Yeah, my boss gave me a real dressing down about that.
Okay, so you found out later that you did in fact call in the wrong street.
Yes.
Okay, and also during the time that from when you shot Mr. Ramirez and when the police arrived, did you ever talk to Mr. Ramirez at all to check and see if he was all right or anything? No.
I mean, I could see he was hurt, but
okay.
Didn't talk to him.
No check. Okay, thank you.
He was unconscious. Normally, I don't make it.
Now, I just also want to ask you about what would happen generally with the police report, the City of Chicago Police Department's policies when you discharge a firearm. Is there quite a bit of paperwork that you have to do?
Absolutely.
All right. And would it be a problem if you discharged a firearm without justifiable cause?
You bet.
Okay. And would that be something that you could even possibly lose your job over?
Absolutely.
Okay. And also, one other thing I want to ask you about I want to ask you about the jacket and the shirt that Officer Levy were wearing. Do you know if those are available today?
Don't know where they are.
Okay. If you could just read here again from Officer Levy's testimony regarding the jacket and shirt.
Do you have those? The jacket? No. Do you have that shirt? No.
No, so not available. And if you can also read, I understand that, we saw evidence earlier introduced that he was checked in for a cut wound. If you could just read this question.
Nobody sewed your shoulder? No.
Okay. Thank you. Also, regarding the knife that was found at the scene of the crime, what happened to the knife after you shot Mr. Ramirez, in your opinion?
It fell to the ground.
It fell to the ground. Okay, I just wanted you to read some from the police report on how they found the knife. If you could just read this sentence here.
I observed a closed jackknife lying to Mr. Ramirez's right.
Okay, and then if you could also read the last two sentences.
I sent the knife to forensics for testing. The report indicated that there were no discernible fingerprints or blood.
There were no discernible fingerprints or blood. Thank you, Officer Waldman. No further questions, Your Honor.